everyone. If you are seeing our faces, you are at the right place because you are at Real Talk. And we have a phenomenal show with some panelists with us tonight. And we are just going to get this party started. But before we introduce ourselves and give you the topic of tonight's discussion, if you like the show, please subscribe to the show, share it with people that you love and care about. But definitely subscribe to the show. You get advanced notifications of when our shows are coming out, and that way you can prepare your day so you can just spend this few minutes with us because it goes quick. The topics are deep and the discussions are very hearty and real. So I'm Rochelle Marie Lawson, the Queen of Feeling Fabulous, and I own Blissful Living for You. And I have a co-host who I'm going to let her introduce herself to you all as well.
Hi there. Welcome back. Welcome back. I am Dr. Kim Brown Barber, better known as Dr. Kim, and I'm the CEO and founder of Journey to Becoming, where we are all about helping people on their journey to being their best self. So there you go. Back at you, Rochelle.
All righty. So we have Dr. Kim from Journey to Becoming. I'm Rochelle Marie Lawson at Blissful Living for You. And we have two panelists with us tonight. In 30 seconds, tell us, Karsta, what do you do? What's your vibe?
Awesome. Thanks, Rochelle, for having me up. My name is Karsta Marie. I'm a motivational speaker and a breakthrough strategist. And my big mission is that fine isn't good enough. I think that too many of us settle and live in things that are fine. We deserve epic, and we can have epic.
I love it. So we have Karsta Marie. And next we have Tanya Renee Lee. Tanya Renee Lee, tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, I tell you, I have problems with technology, and I figured out how to finally make this screen. I'm just so excited. I thought I was going to miss the show because I was over on this screen and it was saying settings. So I've got to brush up on that. But I do a variety of things. I work in
Give us one. You got 10
education
seconds
also and
because our show is really Tanya. You got 10 seconds. Tell us what you do in 10 seconds.
I educate people.
Yes. All right. So there we have it. We're going to get deep into what these ladies do in our topic of discussion for tonight. But let me share with you the topic of discussion. Okay, so we women in today's society, you know, you're hearing a lot about social, emotional, and spiritual renewal. Our social, emotional, and spiritual life is tied to how we understand ourselves, relate to others, and experience belonging and purpose. It is about our thoughts, feelings, perceptions, memories, and states of being. This sense of self is further shaped by culture, early life experience, faith, zip code, and other factors, as you know, ladies. Our social, emotional, and spiritual life guides our decisions, influence our actions, and helps us to know who we are. Society can present us with negative influences like trauma, exclusion, and violence that impact our social, emotional, and spiritual life. As we consider the ideal of renewal in these areas, we can also recognize the ways individuals and institutions in our communities can play a major role in fostering connection and support. In this conversation that I want to have with you ladies tonight, I invite you to consider your own experiences, name what has helped you develop resilience when it comes to balancing your social, emotional, and spiritual selves, and what do you feel is a dream that would be possible in the communities of women that affect us women to help us be unstoppable with our social, emotional, and spiritual renewal? And so I'm going to start with you, Karsta. First question I have for you with regard to the topic is, have you had an experience, or would you be willing to share an experience briefly with regards to something that happened in your life that tapped on any of these areas of social, emotional, or spiritual renewal?
I mean, I think we've all had many of them in our lives, right? Whether we recognize them is another thing, I think. I think if we're looking from the lens of like renewal, I think of kind of that rejuvenating and bringing it back to life. And I think my biggest one would have to be over the last 3 to 4 years. I left almost 4 years ago. I left my career, my 22-year career as a high school teacher to do coaching and speaking and start my own business and do all of that. And it's taken a lot of introspection to do that, and a lot of like getting quiet with myself, a lot of learning how to trust myself. And I think, when I, what?
We're getting feedback somewhere. So,
Okay.
I'm sure, but go ahead, Karsta, continue talking.
I was just going to say, because I think when I listened to what you were saying, I so many stories in my head from when I was a kid. And it's been a lot of the last 3 or 4 years of learning how to trust myself and listen to myself to overcome that and to reconnect with my spirit and what I believe in as universe and source and all of that. So I would say that's been probably my biggest one.
Okay, Tanya, I'm going to pose the question to you with regards to social, emotional, and spiritual renewal. Has the last couple of years have had you think differently about those areas with regards to you and your family, or the women in your family, than prior to 2020? Let's go there.
I found it challenging when the COVID first came on the scene. I had really a hard time with it because at that time my mother was very ill. And I'm sure other people experienced things like that. And I just feel I had to grow emotionally because I lost my mother during the COVID, not the COVID, but I lost her. And so I had to learn how to redo me because she was my best friend. And I think sometimes we need the support of other people. And everybody is there when it first happens. Find yourself in solitude a lot weeks after when you don't have someone that you could reach out there to. And I find that I would like to do something in that area. For example, our first lady of the church I grew up in, she passed away this week. And so I'd like to do something to help others when they're going through that hard time in life, sorrowful time in life. I'd like to be there and be the person that would help them after everyone's gone.
I got you. I'm going to ask you, Dr. Kim, with regards to the topic. Do you, as an educator, do you see that there is a increase in a need for support for women around social, emotional, and spiritual aspects of our life? Or do you think we're at status quo, or is trending down prior to COVID with the comparison?
Well, that's real easy. Thanks for the easy question, my co-host. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's definitely increasing like crazy, which has not only my sector, but many other sectors in business and health and education, having to relook and redefine everything. Not that it wasn't important before, but now it's even more so. People are seeing how fragile and how valuable their emotion and their social and spiritual being is, and being able to understand that, okay, first I had that in the back. I think that's what a lot of things happened there. People just had that in the back of the mind, like, oh yeah, I know I need to do this, and I'm gonna take care of myself, and self-care and whatever, and spiritual, and yeah, okay, I'll get to it. And then all of a sudden, when what they call the C word I was at a conference and that's what they started. They said they just started because it was the first time being back in 2 years. They said, we're not even gonna say, we're just gonna say the C word. I was like, okay. So when the C word happened, it was like everybody all of a sudden thought, oh my gosh, like anything could happen. Life is so short. What is more important? And the values started changing, and so values had to start changing even at work, where people saw that they could have the flexibility to be able to take care of their family, that's to feed that social emotional, right? Because that's all a part of it, being able to take care of your family, feeling like you don't have to choose between the two, and being able to know that you can take care of yourself when you need to be able to have that time. So yeah, it became very vivid that the values changed quickly. Not that it wasn't important, but it became front and priority.
That's interesting. And I agree with what you ladies are saying. I want to ask this question with regards to this, and the C word in my world has a completely.
Oh, believe me, I know. I already know. Because when he said it, we said it context, right?
As the Rona, you know what I'm saying?
I already know. Because my mind went somewhere when he said that during the conference too. So I get it.
Yeah. So just clarification, y'all out there listening.
It's not. Yeah,
COVID-19.
It's COVID that we're talking about. Yeah.
But with regards to what we're talking about and what was happening, we've seen people just really start struggling with the isolation part and and I think a lot of people didn't even realize that they were really that social and needed to be that social. You see what I'm saying? I think there was a big gap, and then they realized, oh my God, I really need to be with people. For instance, my daughter was like, when she had to go back into the office, she was like, when she first got back, she was like, oh, you know what? I kind of missed it. We get to socialize, get to gossip with people and, just, or whatever. But she said, I kind of missed it. You can joke, there's interaction and stuff. But of course, her company went back to giving them leeway to be able to do remote. But I think with regards to the whole social and emotional aspect, do you believe that we've uncovered a gap when it comes to women? Because we are like, we have to do everything sometimes, even though we may not want to do it. That's just, cook, clean, take care of the kids, pick up the kids, go here, do there, take care of the husband, whatever, right? Take care of the wife, whatever. Do you think that since we've identified there's a gap and we need that social and emotional support as women, do you think there's more resources available that women should access or have access to, or do we need to really expand and let women know that there are a lot more resources available than what they think if they're struggling with emotional and social supports? Parsa, why don't you take that? Do you believe there's a gap? Do you think we have a big gap to fill, little gap to fill with regards to that?
That's a really good question. I think I'm going to start off with saying this. I think, and I don't know if this is a popular or unpopular opinion, but I was on another podcast and the host said, being in isolation during COVID wasn't the cause of, for example, the ending of relationships. It didn't create problems in relationships. It brought the existing problems to light because they were cooped up together, right? Like you can live in a relationship like that if everybody's getting distracted with life around you, but when you're isolated together. And so when I hear you ask, like, is there a gap? I don't know that there's a new gap. I think we're just seeing a gap that was already there. And I think there's a both and here. I think we need more resources, but I think what we also need to do is those of us who are in, coaching or whatever, personal development in that field, therapy, whatever, I think we need to start being more vocal so that women know where to get resources. Because I think when they hear resources, they think they have to go to their doctor and they have to get some kind of prescription or they have to go to a therapist. And I'm all about therapy if that's what you need. But I think there are other kinds of resources that a lot of women just don't know exist. And it's not that they're not there, it's that a lot of them don't know how to find them.
Yeah. Good. Tanya, what do you think with regards to, do you think there's a gap? And I think what you shared with regards to the first question and what you experienced, I think there is a gap. And I think sometimes the gap is not in the initial point, but it comes after with regards to what you're saying. So with regards to your experience, what would you say that you saw or that you felt was needed to help you transition better into, you know, dealing with the spiritual, emotional, and the whole social aspect of losing your mom?
Well, it was real difficult, but I was pleasantly surprised that the not hotel, what's wrong with me? Hospital that she was in, even after she had passed away, she came home and passed away in her own bed. But the chaplain really took me under his wings, and I was people that are faced with this situation to go and talk to the chaplain at the hospital. They're a great resource for helping you, and he has really tried to help me even after the fact. I always get a letter or a card or something. I got a Christmas card this year saying if I needed someone to talk to, he was available. And sometimes it's in front of us, but we're not aware of it. So I would suggest reaching out. Sometimes you have to reach out to be reached, I guess, and let people know that you are human, that you have emotional and spiritual and social aspects of your life, and that you're not just one dimensional. So I think all
Got
of
it.
those things would help. Reaching out, don't wait for them to come. Reach out. If they do reach out to you, then respond and let them know. I had a coworker recently that lost her husband, and I called the chaplain that's been calling me and asked him if he would call her because she was in a dark place. So we have to look out for one another too, on the job as women,
You know,
at home
that's a good
with
ideal,
our
Tanya.
different
That's it,
organizations.
Tanya. That's a great ideal to have, like
Yeah.
a phone tree of
Yeah.
friends and family, kind of like, you know, kind of like a neighborhood watch, but it's more of you know, community or
Yes.
social watch with when it comes to just emotional and spiritual stuff. If you're involved in organizations or committees or you volunteer somewhere, I think it's great to just, you know, check in on people because you never know. You never know by checking in on that one person who may have been thinking about
That's
killing
right.
themselves, you know, that you
That's
change their
right.
life just by checking in on them. So I think that's a great way on how we can fill that gap that now has been already there, as said, but it's
Yeah.
just been magnified because, you know, it has been magnified in some areas. Now, the whole renewal aspect. Um, do you think, ladies, what we've experienced over the last couple of years has caused people to really seek more of a spiritual renewal than prior to COVID-19 affecting the world? Um, Dr. Kim, I'm going to start that one with you. What are your thoughts with regards to that?
Well, I think that everybody has their own experiences, right? So the people, even through life, have different experiences where it becomes more vivid and more realized of their spiritual connection and what they need and what, you know, because people go through different things, even like with Miss Tanya talking about her journey with losing her mom. You know, sometimes it's those personal experiences that make us feel that way. But as a country, as the world, because it wasn't just us, it was as the world. I think they did become more cognitive of the spiritual connection because people saw that, oh my gosh, you know, this is happening where people are dying and people don't know why they're dying, especially in the very beginning. It was it was a very scary type of situation because I mean, I remember they had, I can't even remember the football player's name. Oh goodness, they had him coming on and making comments. We're gonna get through this, y'all. We're gonna get through this together. I mean, like everybody, they were using different athletes and stars to try to encourage people, and they're from their home, not like they had some big, production. They were in their home with their phones making these, like, no, it was like we were hunkered down and everybody was like, oh my gosh, and so I think it became real to people like, oh my gosh, people are dying from this and nobody knows why or how, especially in the beginning. So yeah, I think everybody started having that kind of that cognitive spiritual revelation of, maybe I need to do a little bit more searching for myself.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think so. I'm gonna say that in my adulthood, this COVID-19 is not the first pandemic.
Right.
When I was in nursing school and just first became a nurse, the first pandemic we had was something they didn't even know what it was, which is AIDS today.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I think people that are experiencing the pandemic now some of us are old enough to remember when you couldn't touch nobody, you didn't want to look at nobody because they didn't know how it was transmitted, right? Mm-hmm. They didn't know what it was. I'm taking care of these people, they're dying. They couldn't even blame it on anything because they didn't know what it was, and all this weird stuff was happening, and it was unknown. And until it became known, then it was figured out. But it took quite a while for them to figure out what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I think each time we experience something on a global level, whether we're men or women, and particularly women, we really think about the divinity in our spirituality, and sometimes we're so giving that we think about others as well before we really think about ourselves. So I think with the whole social, emotional, and spiritual renewal that we've been going through over these last couple of years, I think as women have really found out a lot about ourselves that we either wanted to deny or didn't know existed, right? Mm-hmm. And it's made us very resilient. So I want to ask you, Karsta, with regards to this whole resiliency as we're moving forward, as we're moving forward, right, down our journey, on our path, so to speak, what do you think us women or the women of the world should be focusing on when it comes to the social, emotional, and spiritual aspects of our lives? Which one do you think takes precedence, or do you think all of them are equally important? And if so, why?
I think as women, we need to really, like you were just alluding to, like our mothering nature comes out, right? And I think a lot of us have tapped into that to some degree over the last couple of years. But I think there's still room for us to really tap into, and I don't necessarily want to get too sort of woo-woo on us here, but like that divine feminine, like really tapping into it, where to be successful, I don't have to be a strong, assertive man. I can be my soft feminine self and still have success. Mm-hmm. I can be that soft feminine self and still, I can still be busy. Powerful. I can still be self-sufficient. I just don't have to be a man in order to be powerful, because I think that there's so much more power. We see all these ads or even TikToks, right? There's all these TikToks about how strong women are because we birth children and the whole thing. And yet I think that we need to grow from that space, that there's power in being divinely feminine. I don't know, does that make sense?
It does. Mm-hmm. It does. It does. It really does. Tanya Renee, what are your thoughts about the question of being resilient as we move forward as women? And we have a viewer from Australia. Yeah. Hi, T girl. Love you. Woo!
Yay.
Subscribe.
Hold on there. That's right. Okay, Tanya Renee, sorry.
That's okay. It's all good. Well, to be resilient as women, we have to learn to work together. I don't know how many times I've been in the workforce at different jobs, various, and especially in the entertainment industry. I work in that a lot. And instead of trying to step on each other, having your foot on one another to hold that person down so that they can get the position, I think is something we need. And in God, then we know that what He has for you is for you, and what He has for me is for me. And we don't have to go on a vicious attack or a campaign to try to secure a job. If God wants you to have the job, He'll put you in there. We need to stand as sisters and say, I'm going to support you, sister. I want you to make it. And I'm not going, your demise does not mean that I have to take you
I gotta cut you
out
off, Tanya
so that I
Renee,
can
because
have the position.
I gotta cut you off. I'm sorry. We only got 3 more minutes and we gotta wrap up. It's a quick show. So I'm sorry.
Okay.
But definitely we got what you're saying. Be resilient and being united on the forefront of women. So, Dr. Kim, as we head into our closing, any last thoughts with regards to our topic tonight?
I just think it's a great conversation that we all are having around the world with each other, and for us to have it here openly so people can feel comfortable is great. And this is what we want to do: is we want women specifically, we want everybody, but we want women specifically to feel open enough where they can have these conversations about their social, emotional, and spiritual beings, so that they can be able to understand that we can go past being all to everything to everybody, but to take care of our social, emotional, and spiritual being, so we become the best self. I like what Karsta said before. We always answer fine, 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 but are we really? Ask yourself.
I like it. That's something I used to ask my kids. How was your day?
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
What does that mean? Or fine. What does that mean? Because you say that when you feeling down in the dumps, you depressed, your heart's broken, whatever. You always gonna say fine, but be truthful and because if you're not open and upfront, your sisters can't help you. And we're sisters, no matter where we are around the world, we're sisters united because we're the feminine divine energy. So in presence. So anyways, okay. As we go into the closing of the show, first of all, I want to thank you, Karsta Marie and Tanya Renee Lee, for being here with us tonight on Real Talk and discussing the topic of social, emotional, and spiritual renewal and being resilient with it as we move forward. Dr. Kim, I'm Rochelle Marie Lawson, Queen of Feeling Fabulous. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Kim and let Dr. Kim, as she definitely tag you in, girl, close us out for the evening.
All right. Thank you all again for joining us. We appreciate your energy. We appreciate you being there. Dropping the mic. You got the mic? Yes. We dropped the mic on our show. So we have to drop the mic, okay? At some point, we always have to drop the mic. So always remember us, Real Talk, where we drop the mic at some point, and we hope that you come back again to be able to be a part of this community. Subscribe. But remember, open up. We love you and we want to be able to be there for you, but you got to reach out, like Miss Tanya said. Reach out to be reached.
I love it. And that will bring us to the end of the show again. This is Real Talk, a show for women, about women, and we discuss the issues that affect us in today's world and how we can move forward, fierce, fearless, and unstoppable. Again, if you like the show, please share it with everyone you love and care about, as well as subscribe. Until next time, bye, everybody.
Bye.